Knowing your numbers is so powerful. By knowing your profit margins and your goals, you can make a monthly, weekly, and even daily plan of exactly what you need to do in order to make the amount of money that you want or need to make. So stop flailing around and get knowledgeable so that you can spend your time as effectively as possible. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 198 with me, Tara Swiger. You can find links to everything I talk about in today's episode at taraswiger.com/podcast198. And I have a couple announcements before we get into the episode. Number one, the weekly vlog is back. So every week you are going to see a combination of everything that happened in my week, edited together on every Friday on my YouTube channel. So you can search YouTube for Tara Swiger, or you can go to taraswiger.com/YouTube and make sure you subscribe. That will give you the weekly podcast episodes you're watching or listening to right now, and the weekly vlog and extra videos, webinars, workshops that I post on YouTube. So every week, the Wednesday Explore Your Enthusiasm episode and the Friday vlog, which is a look behind the scenes of what I'm doing. I'm traveling tons the next several months, and I am sharing all of that in the weekly vlog, along with the lessons that I'm learning in my own business. So Explore Your Enthusiasm is really a place for me to share the lessons that are coming up for my students and that I'm teaching, but there are more things that I'm trying to work through that I haven't figured out how to explain or turn into lessons yet, and that's what I share on the vlog. So taraswiger.com/YouTube. Second announcement is we are coming up on episode 200, which is going to be a call-in show. Yay! So listen in. At the end of this episode, I'm going to give you details of how you can be on my show, and those details will also be in the show notes. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, you can see them there. Third announcement, in this episode, I'm going to mention my class, Pay Yourself. It is open right now, and the price is going to go up at the end of March. So if you want to learn your numbers, your profit margin, your break-even point, how many items you need to make the amount of money you want to make, you need to check it out at taraswiger.com/pay. It's a 6-week class, self-led, self-directed. You can access it at any time. We're going to learn what numbers you need to be tracking, which is going to be really helpful when you do your taxes. If you've already started tracking them, you're going to learn how to track them. You're going to learn about how to make your business profitable. And if your business isn't profitable, I teach you how to fix those problems, what the most common problems are, and how to fix them. So it's specifically written for handmade businesses, and I have a little extra lesson for people who are pattern designers, like knitwear designers, and workshop teachers about how to do the numbers and how to think about if your things are profitable, if you're a pattern designer or you're a workshop teacher. But most of the class is aimed at hand makers and crafters. So if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to ask, but you want to check that out before the price goes up the end of March, taraswiger.com/pay. Now, let's get into the episode. Knowing your numbers is so powerful. It can inform the decisions that you need to make in your business. It can guide your product development. It can help you confidently state your prices when somebody asks, and it can tell you exactly how to use your time most effectively. And I know for most of us, that's the issues. There's so much you want to do, and you wonder where you should spend your time most effectively. So what do I mean when I say knowing your numbers? What I mean, knowing your numbers is knowing your costs. Knowing your numbers is also knowing how many of your product you need to sell in order to break even, and then to actually reach the goal you want to reach. Knowing your numbers means knowing how many activities you need to do in order to make that many sales. And by activities, I mean whatever is the thing that makes you sales, that reaches your customers and ends up in sales, those are the activities I'm talking about. Do you know how many activities a month you need to do in order to reach your monthly income goal? Most of the people I talk to don't know that, and it's really easy to figure out. Once you know that, the question becomes, am I doing the level of work I need to do to reach my goal? And how much am I willing to do each week or each day or each month in order to reach that goal? So many of us are just swirling and just trying to get through the to-do list and figure out what should go on the to-do list and try to figure out how to spend our time, that we're not asking the bigger question of how many of these things, these activities, do I need to do this month in order to reach the goal, and then when am I going to do them? But that's how simple it could be. So let's take a minute and think about that. How would it feel if you knew what you needed to do in order to reach your goal this month or this year? If I could tell you, do this work for this many weeks or months and you'll be there, how awesome would that be? Now, the problem is I can't tell you that. You need to figure out those numbers because every business is different. And you can use math to get that kind of clarity. And let me tell you, I am a French lit major who started a yarn company and now teaches makers and artists. I'm not a math whiz. I am not into math or super in love with math or like at all a person who thought I would be extolling the virtues of math. But if you spend a little time at the beginning of each month doing a couple of simple equations, numbers you already have in your business, you can know exactly what you need to do each day, week, or month. So let me take you through the steps, and I want you to not tell yourself whatever is your story about math and how hard it is or how bad or how good you are at it. I want you to take a deep breath and realize that you can figure this out. And if you figure this out, it might make your days and weeks so much easier because you'll know where you need to spend your time. So first, you need to know your profit margin on each product because, hopefully you understand this, you're not earning 100% of the price of each product. So you're earning whatever is the price minus your cost of goods sold. In my class, Pay Yourself, I help you work out this number, your profit margin for each product. And I help you work it out for every single product you have. Okay? Then the next step, once you know that number, is you need to know your goal and how many of your products you need to sell in order to reach that goal. Again, we do this equation. It's pretty straightforward. We do it in my class, Pay Yourself. Then the next step, so you know your profit margin on your product, you know how many of your product you need to sell to reach your goal. The next step is knowing your conversion rate. What sells your products and how many of your products does it sell? For example, maybe when you do a launch of a new product, you tend to sell 5 to 10 of them, or maybe you sell 50 or 100 of them. So each launch equals about 7 things sold. Your numbers might be wildly different. I'm just giving you some examples. Or maybe the thing you do that sells your product is you teach a workshop and you sell 5. So 1 workshop equals 5 sales. Or maybe what you do to sell your product is you do a craft show, and a craft show equals 50 sales on average. Whatever your activities are, maybe they're wholesale accounts. Each new wholesale account you get sells 20 products and their follow-up order sells another 10 products. Whatever it is for you, you have activities that you do that sell products. In reality, we all have multiple methods of selling and they each have their own conversion rate. One of this equals this many. Sometimes it's an email. An email sent to 1,000 people sells 2 products. Sometimes it's a launch, like a week-long launch sells this many products. So every business has their different activities they do, and each activity has its different method, its different conversion rate. So for me, a podcast episode or 2 sells 1 book. A Starship launch sells 20 products. An essential oil workshop sells 5 kits. A week of regular social media posts about essential oil usage sells a kit or 2. Knowing this, I know then how many activities I need to do to reach whatever my goal is. I also have other selling methods and I can look at those conversion rates if I want to focus on those in any one month. So if you just started your business last month, you're not going to know what your conversion rate is. So let's just talk for a minute about those people who don't know what their conversion rate is yet. And then we're going to talk to those of you who already do know. So if you don't know what your conversion rate is, what do you need to do? How do you know what you need to do? The answer is to try things. Don't try everything at once, but one by one, work through your different options. Craft shows, doing an Instagram story about it, doing reaching out to wholesale people and selling, inviting people to see the product in person, sending products to influencers. Try a bunch of marketing tactics over time and see what gets the best results. If you want to get sales quickly, if you want to grow quickly, do Do one every few days, like build on it. Things like social media, just posting on social media, are going to take much longer to build up. You're first going to have to build an audience that is interested and motivated, and then you're going to have to learn how to become effective at selling on that social media. But things that are much more direct, like a craft show, like a flash sale, like a wholesale account, those are going to be much faster. But things like your email list and your social media is going to build up over time. So you want to keep doing those regular building activities like social media and emailing while you're doing the more direct selling. So try all of the things and see which gets the best results. And if you've been in business for over 6 months, then you look at what has sold items. What have you done that has sold items? For all the rest of you who didn't just start up in the last 6 months, you've done something that sold something if you've had any sales at all. So whenever I talk about this with someone, they always say, "Oh, but I've tried so much and nothing works." Well, look, that's not true. If you've had a sale to anyone who's not a family member, then you've done something that works. So you're looking at it all wrong if you're looking at, "Oh, nothing works." Instead, I want you to come from the angle of what has worked. Literally, what is the thing that I did that ended up in the sale? Something has worked for you. What was that? And if you haven't had any sales, you need to keep trying stuff and measuring to see, I did X and this happened. So you need to keep measuring to see what your conversion rate is on the stuff that you're doing. And as soon as you have a sale, that's one piece of data for you. And I want to challenge you further. If you're trying to figure out why is nothing working to get sales, try personal, direct things. Don't just do these indirect one-to-many things like posting on Facebook and Instagram and then complain that you don't have any sales. You want to build direct personal relationships with people and invite them to your thing. So invite them to your special VIP list. Offer to send influencers your work. Call up shops and ask them if you can talk to them about carrying your work. Do a craft show and talk to buyers directly there. What I tend to see a lot of when people are complaining that they don't have any sales is that they're doing general one-to-many marketing before they have many on the other side of that one-to-many marketing thing. So in the beginning, focus on personal sales. Focus on getting one person to buy your work while you're regularly posting on social media to build your social media. You need to be talking directly to people to make those sales. So if you have some sales and you can point to, I did X and that ended up in that sale, or I did Y and ended up in that sale, I want you to look at your actual numbers and average it out. For most of you listening, you already have some sales, so you have an idea of what works. So what you're looking for is when I do X activity, I have Y number of sales. You can even take it one step further, depending on the kind of product you make. This may or may not make sense. Do the math for the average revenue from each activity using your profit margins for each product. And again, if you don't know your profit margins, you can take pay yourself and figure that out. Then you subtract the cost of the activity to get, I did this craft show. I sold X items at this amount. That was my profit margin. You subtract the cost of doing that craft show. So if I did one craft show, I make Y total profit. Then, this is the step. This is how to know what you need to do each month. Look at your goal. How much do you want to make? So how many of that activity making that much money would you need to do in order to reach your goal? That's like a super simple algebra equation, which is like how many of that activity, X activities, equaling the number you've just figured out, how many sales or how much money for that activity. So unknown number of activities times this many sales equals my goal, right? So that's all you need to do. And by the way, what you do with that is division, right? What your goal is divided by what you make each of these activities equals doing that many activities. Does that make sense? This is super straightforward. You guys do this kind of math when you go grocery shopping all the time, or when you're trying to figure out how many supplies to buy. But you see, you have to have done the work to know your profit margin, your goal, how many items you need to sell in order to reach that goal, and then you have to pay attention to your conversion rate. Then, once you know that number, if I make this much at craft shows and I want to make this much a month, I need to do 3 craft shows a month. Or if you have, if you're working with me on your doTERRA business, then you know that if you sell 3 home essentials kits at every workshop and your goal is to get this money in sales, then how many of those workshops do you need to do? That's super straightforward. You need to schedule 5, 4, 2 workshops each month. Same thing with webinars if you're selling on webinars. Same things if you're launching like a new product, like several of you do. You'll like do a product launch each time, or like a shop, what's it called? Like a shop posting, like there's nothing in your shop and then you post all the products in your shop. Each time you do that, how many sales do you make? So how many times do you need to do that in order to hit your goal? It's that straightforward. It's that simple. Now, as you're listening to this, I know you are thinking a couple things. One is that it might be, I did that math and I can't possibly do that many activities in a week or a month. Like if you've done the math and your math tells you you need to do 10 craft shows each month, well, there just maybe aren't 10 craft shows each month. So I have 2 questions to ask you if that's your concern. I can't do that many activities in a week. First, is that true? Is it true that you really can't do that number, or is it just an amount of volume you've never done before, so you're going to have to change how everything works if you want to hit that goal? Or do you need to get more effective in those activities? So if you feel like you can't do that many activities in a week, you can either decide, I'm going to do it. Something like craft shows is hard, but something like getting that many wholesale accounts in a week or a month, you just need to contact more than you've ever done before. Or maybe you need to get more effective in those activities. In other words, you need to sell more at each craft show to make each craft show more profitable. Or you need to have bigger orders from each wholesale account to make each wholesale account profitable. Or when you do an Etsy shop update, you need to update with more items than you've done in the past because they all sell out and yet you're still not reaching your goal. So perhaps your craft show display could become more effective at selling, or your webinars could end with stronger call of action, or your Instagram photos could be more compelling. You can do something, and there are actually lots of some things you can do to make your whatever activity more effective and have a higher profit margin on each activity. Now, the second thing that comes up is people say, I don't want to do that much, Tara. You're saying in order to get my goal, I need to do all this work. I don't want to do that. Let's be honest. That is a lot of your responses. So you can A, make each activity more effective, like I just talked about, which is going to require trial and error, or B, rethink your whole biz model. So one thing that a lot of people find out when they take Pay Yourself is that they can't possibly, humanly, make as many products as they need to make to hit their income goal with the products they currently have and the prices they currently have. So I give you a bunch of things you can change up. Like maybe you stop making the unprofitable products, or maybe you raise your prices, or maybe you focus on something else. And that, knowing that there are different options, you're not just stuck where you are, can be really, really helpful. So if you don't want to do the amount of activities it takes to reach your goal, you may just need to change your prices or your activities or your biz model. Like maybe the activities you're looking at just aren't the best, most effective ones you could be using. So if you're just posting general information on Facebook about your business and hoping that people will find your Etsy shop and then purchase, that's not very effective. You could definitely try selling models that are much more effective, like talking to people directly. So it might be that you need to change your activities, or you might need to change how your whole model, how it works. Maybe you've been selling retail and you need to focus more on selling wholesale. You need to develop those relationships, or vice versa. I've had people who have sold wholesale for a while and then realize they can make a lot more money and they have an audience now. They want to go directly to retail. The third option is maybe you need to rethink your goal. It's entirely possible that this isn't the right goal for you, or it's not that valuable to you. Because if it was more valuable to you, you would be willing to do the work that it would take to reach it. And along with rethinking your goal, maybe you just need to stretch out the timeline. I was saying if you want to hit this goal with this month, maybe you want to hit it over 3 months. So you're going to do that amount of work stretched out over 3 months. And then, with all of this, once you realize what you need to do in a month, you're going to break it down to a week, and you're going to break it down to a day, so you know each day what you need to do that's going to move you forward towards that goal. Now, the thing I want to leave you with is that none of these things, none of these problems is a problem unless you ignore it. Makers get into this swirly confusion, either because they don't actually know their numbers, so they have no idea what they need to be doing with their time or what's most effective, or even if it'll ever be profitable, or because once they do know the numbers, they don't act on them. and they either ignore it or they don't follow through with the math to figure out how does this actually translate to my daily activity. Maybe they're disappointed by what they find, or they want it to be otherwise, they just want it to be different. But the fact is, you can be honest with yourself, and your business is going to grow and explode and expand because you were honest with yourself and you took action based on that honesty. Be honest with your business and be honest about what you're willing to do. And this is going to guide you more towards the kind of business you want, or maybe it's going to guide you towards not building this business at all. Either way, it's perfectly fine. I just don't want you to work and work and work away and not actually be physically capable of ever hitting the goal you have set because your prices or your business model or your goal isn't in alignment with each other. So you can check out the class Pay Yourself at taraswiger.com/pay. I completely revamped it last year with new videos and worksheets and new platform, but I kept the old price, and I was supposed to put the price up last April and I totally forgot. So this year, at the end of March 2018, the price is going to go up from $199 to $299, which makes it more in line with my other large workshops, and it has so much value and really helping you figure out the profitability for your own business. 6 weeks of lessons where I go deep, worksheets where you're going to apply it all to your own business. If me talking through these equations through you, in the class, they're all written out. You will actually do the math, and I promise there's only like 1 week of math and then you get over it. And if you join now, you are going to have it done in time for your taxes. So Pay Yourself doesn't actually talk specifically about taxes because so many of you are not in the United States, but it does help you gather all of the numbers you need for wherever you live. You will have the data you need in order to fill out your taxes if you do Pay Yourself. So grab it now at taraswiger.com/pay before the price goes up. And I told you at the beginning of this episode that my 200th episode is coming up, and to celebrate, I want to have you on the show. So you can call in and leave a message, and we're going to include you on the show. Jay and Jolie are going to do a lot of editing to make that happen. You can share what you love about the show when you listen to it, and if you have a business question, ask. I'll answer your questions. Call 567-393-8272 and leave your message there. By leaving a message, you're giving me permission to share it on the show. And if you need a better way of remembering that, it's 567-EYE for Explore Your Enthusiasm, TARA. So 567-EYE, TARA. Call and leave a message. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here for 198 episodes. Thank you for being willing to do the hard work of looking at your numbers. I wish you a very enthusiastic and profitable day.